There seems to be a lot of mysterious things that are going on and happening inside the world of professional wrestling right now. And some wild and interesting things happening as well, even within our country of Canada. Brought to you by the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program. My name is Carl Carafel. I'm joined alongside OMD and Chris Best. And this is Turnbuckle Talk. We're looking at episode 402. And we're going to be talking at the end of our show tonight about a big mystery that we saw and was brought forward to us on last night's edition of Monday Night Raw. Throwback, always good to see you. Love you, brother. He's at the NXT show right now. Stoked for you. Super happy for you. That is absolutely amazing. You're going to have to let me know how it was, your experience, and maybe even I'll have you on the show at some point to talk about that experience. You did get to see Mr. JPJ and Ed Fries as well. And Throwback is in the second row right now.
Nice.
For NXT. I have it recording. I PVR it, so I will be able to go back and see it. And I will definitely be looking for you, my friend. Definitely will be. But yeah, I think I would love to have you on an episode just to talk about your experience and your thoughts on an NXT live event.
Yes, I actually have NXT on in the background. But as I'm sure you gathered last night, because you were the only one I hadn't told, I am headed to the Elimination Chamber in March.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely fantastic. I was planning on it. Unfortunately, life gets in the way.
Yep.
And, it's not going to be feasible for me to do so. We have not broken out to the point that we need to as of yet with this program and with the Turnbuckle Studios network to be able to just sit back at home and do this for a living yet.
Right.
But maybe
well,
one day.
I got lucky because the 2 days of the pre-sale, my son's aunt and I were talking, and I got her registered for the pre-sale, so we were able to get our tickets under $200.
Oh, nice. Decent seats as well, or are you up in nosebleed?
I think we're up in nosebleeds, but
Gotcha.
We're there.
Yeah, right. Understandable.
We're there, and you never know what's going to happen. Maybe there's a seat upgrade. Maybe it's not a sold-out venue.
I know somebody who was part of those seat upgrades at one time, and it's that guy up there. Mr. Chris Best got himself a seat upgrade back in 2004 when we went to Toronto for SummerSlam. Bobby, it is good to see you. Thank you so much for coming in here with us. We got a lot to talk about here.
And excuse me. Yeah, and I only got that seat upgrade because they taped off where I was supposed to be sitting.
Right.
So
who knows? Maybe for OMD, the same thing might happen. We will have to wait and see when it comes to be showtime for OMD. And with that, I think it's time. It's time. It's
showtime, folks.
As you heard OMD say, it's showtime. Oh, I apologize. I am still, for months now, with a cough, with a cold, with a chest issue that is going on. We've got other people involved in this now. The city that we live in is involved with this as well. So things hopefully will be progressing very, very soon to get us kind of out of this situation. There are other situations that are happening right now when it comes to the WWE and its move over to Netflix. One of those issues is that once a contract is finished and over with a company, when it comes to television rights, there seems to be a little bit of a lull in what can actually happen. There's like a gap week is what things are called. And what's going to be happening right now is that once the WWE does make its move over to Netflix, international fans are in for a little bit of a twist come January the 3rd, because we know that officially Raw and the WWE Network are moving to Netflix for us on that Monday. But that leaves us with Smackdown, and it's up in the air. So things that we found that have been brought out is that the way contracts end and start, there is a gap, which is usually only one show. So for Canada, the UK, and most of the world, with the exception of like the United States, Germany, and the Philippines, the television deals are actually ending this year. Netflix picks up January 6th. So what we're hearing right now is that edition of Smackdown on January the 3rd is going to be broadcast on YouTube for fans that are in the countries and the areas where it will not be shown on television. Now, I don't have a confirmation yet as to if it is going to be put out to all the markets, which I think would be a very smart thing to do, to have the Smackdown before everything goes to Netflix on every platform's or every region's YouTube. That way it allows for people to see the show and on YouTube for free and go, ooh, I'm kind of interested in that. How can I see more? Which is then going to lead them to
Now, as we have been discussing over the last few nights, with everything officially, like, we get the kickoff on Netflix on January 6th, but everything begins to move over on New Year's Day.
Right.
I'm very intrigued as to...
We actually get the kickoff tomorrow.
As to why we're not getting the episode of Smackdown on the 3rd. I would even go so far as to say, if you're going to bring everything over on January 1st, why not do the New Year's Eve episode of NXT on the Tuesday on Netflix? So I'm very interested. Now, I do have a way of watching with my TV program that I can still watch it on the CW. I can still go and get the feed live on USA. But we did see this past Saturday as well, with Saturday night's main event streaming live on YouTube. So we know that they can do it.
Right.
And it's not just clips. So, I mean, great, but it's interesting as to see why they can't kick off the episode of Smackdown on the 3rd of January here in Canada and elsewhere in other parts of the world.
Mr. Best, what do you have?
It's because the contract for Netflix starts on the 6th, so they can't do anything until the 6th. It is going to be on YouTube in Canada and most of the world, the UK as well, on what is my birthday, essentially. Essentially, it is my birthday, January 3rd.
Yep. So, yeah, as Mr. Best had said earlier as well.
But at least it won't.
So as Chris was saying earlier as well, the WWE will host a Raw on Netflix kickoff event on December the 18th, which is tomorrow at HQ in Stamford, Connecticut, which starts at 2 p.m. Eastern, marking another milestone as the WWE prepares for a streaming future. I'm going to be at work during that time. I'm doing day shifts for the next 2 days. So I'm not going to be able to catch it, but I am hoping that it stays on YouTube or stays on Facebook, because they're streaming this right now. They're going to be taking this Netflix kickoff event to all of their social platforms. That's including X, that's Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, wherever they are, they're going to be streaming that. And I believe that it's going to be on TikTok as well. So very, very cool in that respect. When it comes to why not start early, it's exactly as Chris Best had said, which we've lost just for a moment. He is having some lag issues with his audio right now, so he's just going to try to reset things on his end. But yeah, that's exactly what it is. Netflix does not officially have the rights until the 6th. That's when that contract starts. So that's why we've got this kind of lull that's in there. Do you think, OMD, that they should allow, because it says it's just for international, do you think that it would be wise for them to have it worldwide and not just international?
Absolutely. I think that's going to be a smart way of doing things. It lets everybody, even the networks, USA, CW, refocus to help maybe try and get some more feelers in there to try and help upgrade the shows that are going to be on broadcast TV for the WWE.
Right.
So you can get new set designs, new changes. I'm sure they are working on new set designs for everything now. But you can start to see these things come into play.
Right.
And maybe, again, strip it right back for that week. Bare essentials for the show. And then you can come back next week and wow everything.
Right. And we already know that there is going to be even a new logo for Monday Night Raw as it comes into this streaming era or the Netflix era, as whichever way people are going to call it. And it's a good kind of reset for that, right? It's still the same Raw logo that we're used to, just with a little bit of a slight alteration to it, still keeping that brand of Raw. Mr. Best, I know that you're back. I want to get your opinion on this. Do you believe that the WWE would be better within their rights to allow the Smackdown to be broadcast in every market, or is just having it in the international markets a better option for them?
Geez, that's a tough one. Because the way I look at that is I look at the financial side of things and how they can save money, especially like if they were to come up to Canada where it is actually cheaper for them to do a show. I kind of like the idea of them touring all over the world because, again, the first W in WWE is world. So I like the idea that they are touring around the world with their shows now. Now, OMD was wondering about this the other day and how that would affect our Raw Patrol or even the SmackDown security detail for our show. I'm going to go out and say this right now. It's not, because they should be available. Those shows should be available on Netflix pretty much right away for us to watch right at 8 p.m. Mondays and Fridays.
Right. Yeah, to my understanding, it is going to be live for us on Netflix. So in that respect, fantastic. And that's the way that it should be. We don't want that, Monday Night Raw becomes Tuesday rewatch Raw because of whatever, right? You know what I mean? So to have that as it should be. If they're going to have us get Netflix for Monday Night Raw and for everything WWE within Canada and internationally, then they need to make sure that it is going to be live streaming, which to my understanding is what they're going to be doing.
Yeah.
Thankfully.
So it'll be like if they do a Raw in Perth, Australia, it'll be like when you and Parrish, Carl, were up at 5:00 in the morning watching Elimination Chamber when they were in Perth earlier this year.
Right. Yeah, and it'll be the same for us just on Netflix then instead. Right. So if they are over in Australia.
But as I said, I do expect that. Yeah. I do expect that we can still, again, if they do a Raw in Perth, Australia, that we can still do a Raw Patrol at 8 p.m. our time and be able to get our reactions out of it,
Yeah.
Oh, of course. Of course, 100%. Which it would have to. It would have to. I think the only difference that's going to happen is that instead of us watching it on the WWE Network through Sportsnet, we're going to be watching it on Netflix instead, and that's really about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is good. Which is very good. But just an FYI, if you are in an international market for the WWE, you will not be seeing Smackdown on Netflix on January 3rd, but instead follow the WWE YouTube page. I'm glitching out here with my camera for some reason, but check out that YouTube page. And you will be able to watch Smackdown. I need to replace
the
my
Wyatt
cable.
6 has taken over Carl's computer.
Yeah.
Yes, they have.
Yeah. I think I need to replace my cable. That's all. So yeah, there we go. That's the lowdown for SmackDown ahead of the Netflix deal for that one show. Mr. Best, what else have you found for us today?
I found I'm going to use my famous word, plethora. I found some information on a plethora of TNA talent who are on their way out from the company. And these ones actually shock me. It doesn't surprise me with Jade Chung or Rhino because they already announced prior to their last engagements that they were leaving. Right. But AJ Francis is the one that surprises me the most, given that just this past Friday, he had a championship match against Nick Nemeth. Kushida's on his way out too. And again, that surprises me as well. And they're joining the list, of course, with Jade Chung, Rhino, Josh Alexander's on his way out in February. The report here that I'm reading about Kushida, though, is that he signed a dual contract with New Japan Pro and TNA in December 2023. It was further said that the signing was originally planned to be the first of a number of similar deals in that theory. That in theory could keep talent in the two separate pro wrestling companies and reward them financially as a way to keep talent from signing with larger promotions. However, after Scott D'Amore's termination, that incentive went away. So these are guys to me that probably supported Scott D'Amore in some way. And I knew that when Scott got terminated, that there was going to be a number of wrestlers that were going to follow him. And we saw the same thing with Triple H, right? When he took over and from Vince, we saw a number of guys leave. We saw a number of guys also come back as well.
Yeah.
It also says that the article concludes by saying that Kushida will be primarily focusing on New Japan going forward. And he did leave on TNA in good terms, which is always a good thing. It's always a good thing when you leave a wrestling company on good terms and not bashing them on the way out like a number of wrestlers we've seen do in the past. I'm glad that actually Kushida is going to New Japan or sticking with New Japan because I feel like he was a far better fit there.
Right. I agree. 100%.
Yeah.
But as far as like Rhino goes, But as far as like Rhino goes, I'm wondering, is it time for Rhino to finally hang it up?
That's a hard one. No. Okay, I'm just gonna come flat out and say it. No, I don't believe that it is. I think that he still has a lot left in him and a lot left to teach younger. So whether we see Rhino go to a like an MLW or go and help out Mr. Tony Khan with Ring of Honor and some of the younger stars that are down there, or just go and travel around and maybe we see Rhino taking on Chris Parrish. Hey, Mr. Martin, good to see you. Thank you for coming by. Like, who knows? Bobby's got a good idea as well. An NXT coach.
Bobby,
I think that would be fantastic.
Bobby, get out of my head. I was literally thinking that.
I was thinking the exact same thing. No, and I'm with you, Carl. I don't think Rhino needs to hang it up. I think, as you suggested, let him go these places and train, work with. He doesn't have to be a full-time competitor.
No,
he is a Hall of Fame caliber talent. And would I love to see him go into the Hall of Fame this year for the WWE? Yes.
Sure.
Part of this other situation too, and yes, he wrapped up his obligations with TNA and said he wasn't returning. As part of this too, we are expecting a number of other talent to be leaving TNA because Anthem and TNA have asked them to take pay cuts. Now, how significant these pay cuts are, we don't know. But to go back to this, since it was really Kushida bringing this to the forefront, do we potentially, I know he wasn't a great fit in NXT the first time around. Could we see him go back to the WWE to work in NXT again and maybe go back and reform Time Machine on SmackDown with the Guns?
I'm more happy with him sticking with New Japan for a little while. I'm wondering about AJ Francis now because I've actually watched him in a few of his matches since Friday in TNA. And I got to say, since the flop of the top rope, he's actually improved in the ring.
Yeah, he definitely.
So I'm really curious about where he goes.
I don't know. I think at this point, the world is his oyster, as they say, I guess. Yeah. It's just going to be a matter of where would accept him. And does anyone want to? Is another question. Right.
Yeah.
I could see him going and working in AEW / Ring of Honor. Do I think he reforms a new version and new named Hit Row with Swerve? No, but I could see him going and maybe being a part of Shane Taylor promotions. And maybe not necessarily doing what Shane Taylor and Keith Lee did in the dives over the top rope and the Pretty Boy Killers, but maybe going in to be that other heavy for STP.
Okay. It's interesting.
But as we have talked about people on their way out of TNA, I want to talk about a very interesting return to TNA that happened this past Friday. And that is the return of Tessa Blanchard, which sort of came to light Thursday night and Friday afternoon that she was going to be returning. I certainly wasn't expecting to see it Friday night when it happened. And she gave up her CMLL Tag Team Championship and left CMLL. From what I understand and having read what I read earlier, she didn't really badmouth the company on her way out.
Okay.
But now she is working without a contract currently in TNA. So she has not signed. And I'm wondering if this has to do with those past allegations against her.
I think no matter what, the allegations are going to stick with her forever. Yeah, like no matter what, it's always going to be there. I don't think it's ever going to be a point where that's not going to be something that's looked at. But I think that we as fans can maybe take what we've learned and move past it, if possible, because maybe if we start moving past these things, then maybe the companies will start looking past these things.
Right.
Until things are actually where, put out and confirmed, right?
Yeah, when it comes to Tessa Blanchard for me, I'm going to be just kind of dipping my toe in the ocean on her. I do hope she grew up from the allegations that came from it, because let's face it, she was only just a couple years in the business when those allegations happened. She was kind of playing the Nepo baby, as it were,
Yep.
So I hope that she did some growing up. I hope that she does have a successful run in TNA. I don't have any ill will to her anymore. I did when she was going through all that stuff, because there was a lot of stuff that she went through there.
Right.
But as I said, I do hope she grows up on this one.
Yeah. I think she has. I didn't even know that she had made a return to CMLL and had been competing. And it's interesting as well, like that she is tentatively working without a contract. We know there was apprehension backstage, as it was, even though it was kept from talent when they found out she was coming back, and rightfully so. There were some that were excited for her to be returning. And maybe it was people who didn't have those experiences, who knew her from her in-ring and not by reputation outside the ring.
Right.
So how long do we give it before we potentially see that Tessa Blanchard contract?
I think at this point we're going to see a lot of companies that may bring Tessa in, not signing immediately, but testing the waters, like Mr. Best is just dipping his toe in. I think a lot of these companies are going to probably do the same thing, just to check, see, and make sure that yes, she has grown and was able to grow past all of the green issues that she had in the beginning. Most places are pretty good about giving a second chance, especially for something like this, where she was so new into the business, so green, wet behind the ear, like just, not where the level should be at the very beginning. But learning from mistakes would be great. And if she has learned from those mistakes and can show and prove that she has, then a company would probably take a harder look and say, yes, let's give you a contract. Until then, let's work on a week-to-week basis.
Right. In a related article,
the perfect example of that. The perfect example of that is Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels first came to the WWF, if you guys remember, in 1987. Him and Marty were fired because they went on a bender one night, for lack of a better term. But then they came back in late 88, 89, and that's when everything just started to flow for Shawn and Marty.
Mm-hmm.
They got a taste of that big stage, and they realized, okay, we need to grow up, we need to buckle down, we need to get this thing going,
Yep. In a related article, there are a number of WWE talent that were not specifically named eager to work with Tessa Blanchard. And I wonder if maybe there was some history there with her and maybe a Stephanie Vaquer in NXT. We have also seen that relationship and that crossover between NXT and TNA blossom over the year. We haven't seen it in about a month. But would that be maybe a good system for her to work into when she gets that contract? Maybe work some crossover episodes and see how the developmental system in NXT works to help her.
Right. At this point, I think that article is a lot of maybe clickbait and speculations. Until I actually see from someone that, they would be interested in working with Tessa. That's like saying Paul Logan and Joe Rogan, all of these names, big names, Charlie Kirk, let's say, and Jesse Ventura and Jake the Snake Roberts and Triple H and Shawn Michaels even. They're names that have expressed interest in coming on to Turnbuckle Talk. Right? Like there could be all of these names, and that could very well be true or could not. I could be like, oh, there are a number of names that have said that they want to come onto this program, or a number of names that have said that they want to become part of the Turnbuckle affiliation program, but I'm not going to name who they are. But I can't name who they are because, well, I just can't. Right. That was
let's say, for instance,
for instance, what?
I was going to say, for instance, as I'm looking at her on the screen, I got Zariah. If she went on Chris Van Vliet and said, "Hey, I would like to work with Tessa Blanchard," then I would take that as a source,
Right. Exactly. Yes, for sure. So while it could very well be true that there are people within the WWE that want to work with Tessa Blanchard, now that she's making, I guess, more of a television name for herself, until we actually have those names come out and say it on their socials or in an interview type of status, we can speculate that it would be absolutely fantastic for a crossover type of situation to happen between TNA and NXT involving Tessa, which would be great because at this point, we're pretty much guaranteed that Jordan Grace will no longer be working with TNA, but will be making her way to NXT.
That's right. She's another one that's on that list that's on her way out.
Yep.
Yeah, she is. So you're going to need another name to be able to come over and do these crossovers, right?
Mm-hmm. Right. So you mentioned television, Carl Carafel, and I've got another story here that I didn't actually send to you guys, but I discovered it late last night, and that is one Becky Lynch has signed on to be a part of the new Star Trek series, Starfleet Academy.
Oh, interesting.
I'm very excited about this because I'm a Star Trek fan, huge Star Trek fan, and in the show Star Trek Starfleet Academy. I don't even know that. I don't even need the episode description to tell you what it's going to be about. It's going to be about people with these people within the Star Trek universe are going through Starfleet Academy, which is like the college for the like the Enterprise and all of that. Right. It's basically basic military training, as it were.
Yeah.
But it's going to be about their lives and everything that they've encountered while going through this academy. And I'm very excited to see Becky Lynch. This isn't the first time we've had a WWE wrestler appear on Star Trek. As you guys remember, The Rock did it many, many moons ago as well. There's actually been a number of wrestlers. There's been quite the correlation between wrestling and Star Trek. And this has me very excited because I definitely can see Becky Lynch doing a Star Trek character. I don't know what she's going to do, but I'm very excited to see it. And I'm happy for her for taking this on.
Right. And yes, you're right. The biggest connection that I could think of, because I haven't watched Star Trek since The Next Generation ended, but you do have William Shatner in the WWE Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely do.
Yes, you do.
Yeah. So, yeah, very good for Becky Lynch. I think that this is going to be good for not only her, but for the WWE as well, because I'm sure they're going to be talking about her being a WWE superstar that is part of the show. Good for the Star Trek franchise for coming out with another show. And yeah, fantastic.
Yeah.
I'd like to talk about another show, one that has come back as well. But I want to talk about somebody's experience from that show. And I don't know if you guys have covered this or not, but Saturday night's main event happened December 14th. Now we saw the return of Jesse the Body Ventura over that weekend. He came back. He did hosting duties. He did commentary. He did a lot of different things with the show. And I just want to go through what he said in a statement about his experience, calling the night an honor and a full circle moment for his career. He says, I made the return to Saturday night's main event this past weekend, and what an experience it was. First off, I have to thank my son, Tyrell Ventura, for putting the wheels in motion last summer. It's been such an incredible feeling to return to the place where my career essentially began, or more accurately, really took off from. He says the biggest thing I noticed was how different the energy and vibe is backstage, saying you don't feel a battle of egos like you often did back in my day. From the executive level to the locker room level, you instead feel a very strong sense of teamwork and creativity. Crediting Triple H, Paul Levesque, the CEO Nick Khan, and the team for fostering an inclusive and collaborative environment, saying that I think Paul, Nick, and the team at the WWE are creating a truly incredible and unique environment unlike any I have seen before in the world of wrestling. I loved being backstage and sharing stories, advice, and laughs with some of this generation's new talent. That is absolutely freaking huge. Coming from Jesse the Body Ventura, a man who has been very vocal about his disgust at times with the WWE and their practices and the way that they have done things. For him to come out and say such good things right now feels beautiful to me. Now, he has had good things to say about the WWE in the past before, and I know that a lot of his disdain came from the working relationships that he had with, like, Vince McMahon. And I get that. But to have somebody who's cold,
see, that's what I was going to bring up.
Yeah, bring it up.
That's where the difference lies there, is because, again, with Hunter knows how to talk to these older legends. He knows how to get them involved in the business. He knows that since Vince left, everything's changed. Why don't you come and take a look and see what we're doing? You know?
Right. Yeah.
And Jesse and Vince's relationship, their sour relationship, I mean, you can write a book on everything that Jesse and Vince did not like each other on. Right. So for Jesse to come out and say that, and by the way, Carl, I don't know if you watch the show, but I highly recommend you do. It is available to watch on YouTube. Right. Jesse Ventura did not lose his step as far as commentary goes.
Good.
It was just like listening to him and Gorilla.
Yeah, it was awe-inspiring. It was fantastic. He had that passion back in his voice.
Good.
To see him come out in full Ventura gear and talk with,
and then rib Jake the Snake about it,
and in full kayfabe as well.
Right.
It was good. Amazing. I know there were a lot of fans because of that hatred that he had with Vince McMahon, but as well, there were a lot of fans divided on the fact that Hulk Hogan wasn't brought back for it. But we know that there is history there.
Right.
But in that situation, I don't think it should have mattered. I think that should have been two guys put their egos aside, but Hulk Hogan went to Tampa Bay and watched UFC and made an appearance in, I can't remember whose corner. But yeah, he was a corner man at the UFC on Saturday night.
Okay. And for a lot of that, for a lot of the people,
in all honesty, with some of them.
Yeah, go ahead. Keep going.
Sorry. In all honesty, with Hogan's controversies, do we really need him on WWE TV right now?
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say for a lot of that, I mean, bitch, essentially, right? Like, everybody's going to complain about, this person wasn't there or that person wasn't there, instead of kind of going, hey, it was really nice to see this person there. Yeah. And I'm thankful that we had someone. They could have done nobody.
Right.
But then people would have complained as well.
Yeah, and it was great to see all of the nostalgia that they did, going back to the red, white, and blue ropes. The refs in the blue shirts.
With the bow ties.
Yeah. The old bulky earpieces and ref cam.
Yep.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
It felt like a 1980s Saturday night main event.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, to go along with that, I want to give huge congratulations to Matt Cardona. Matt Cardona is officially one half of the WWE Women's United States Championship. Congratulations, Matt Cardona. Yeah. But in all seriousness, Chelsea Green, the wonderful Canadian talent, becoming the first ever Women's United States champion within the WWE. Huge congratulations to her. We all pretty much called Chelsea Green to win that tournament. We saw the buzz on socials going Chelsea or Riot. And we're not talking anybody like Ruby Riot or anyone from the Riot squad. WWE fans were going to legitimately riot if Chelsea Green didn't win this, but they've said that before. They've said that before. We've never done it.
Right.
Right. But congratulations, Chelsea Green. I want to make sure that we put that out there because that is absolutely huge, not only for the WWE having their very first women's United States champion of this time, but for a Canadian female professional wrestler to have won that is amazing for Canada and the Canadian wrestling scene.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So before we go to our Showstopper segment, I have one more article I want to touch on, and this is actually TKO related and not just WWE. This has to do with a WWE superstar in Logan Paul, tentatively in agreement for a boxing exhibition in India with Conor Macgregor. In a tweet, Conor wrote that he was in preliminary agreements with the Ambani family to face Logan Paul in a boxing exhibition in India. He stated that he had agreed and he would then seek his return to the octagon. I misread that when I first read the article, and I thought then he would seek to get it on one more time because Logan Paul is a boxer. Logan Paul does also have a UFC deal on top of his WWE deal. So I misread that thinking, okay, then we're going to get a rematch in the octagon. Do we then take it full circle? Do we have boxing, UFC, and WWE? But as I stated, I misread that. And then it states on Conor McGregor's loss to Floyd Mayweather in a boxing match in 2017 and competing in another exhibition match in 2019. What do we think of this? We know that Logan Paul retired from boxing.
We also know Logan Paul retired from pro wrestling too, but never say never in the world of combat sports. This is just a money grabber. I do enjoy Logan Paul, but this is just a money grabber, especially on Conor McGregor's side. I like Conor McGregor too, but he's a greedy bastard,
right?
My opinion on this.
Crickets.
Yeah. Really don't care.
Right.
Well
and I get it. I get it. Because, yeah, like, I mean, for me, that's just a cash grab for TKO. It's not even necessarily for Conor or Logan Paul.
Right.
Would there maybe be a little bit more intrigue if it was going to be the trifecta? They do the boxing, they do the octagon, they do night one of SummerSlam.
Maybe. I still don't know for me.
For Logan's,
if it would.
I'm going to come out and say this. For Logan's safety, no to the octagon, because Conor will murder him in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'll admit I said the same thing about Randy Couture versus Brock Lesnar way back when that happened, and Lesnar shocked the hell out of me.
He didn't shock me out of that. Randy Couture was old then.
Yeah, I still had Couture going first round. But, I mean, both are still fairly young men. And, I mean, Conor is getting older. Do we potentially see do we now maybe get that Conor McGregor coming over to learn how to do the WWE safely, or do we still see him continue to run his mouth against the WWE and what it is?
Yeah.
We continue to see him run his mouth. That's how Conor is. That's how Conor's going to run.
Okay.
Yeah. Bobby Petito is saying interesting. I mean, yeah. Throwback, yeah. Whenever you want, I think you can come on to the shows here and give us your rundown for sure. He's saying, I wish I could tell you what's happening, but someone would kill me. Can come on or anything. They're tapings. So yes, they are doing tapings for NXT right now.
Nice.
Yeah, and that's amazing. I think 100% that is amazing. Something else that is pretty amazing is something that we are going to be talking about within our Showstopper segment. WWE is at it once again. The crypticness of some of the things that they are doing is beautiful, I will say. Mr. Best and OMD, there has been new promos that are coming out for another potential wrestler making their way to the WWE. There is speculation on who this person could be. And I know that speculation is probably pretty accurate. But I think we could go maybe a couple different ways with this as well. Mr. Chris Best, I'm going to let you take the reins here on this.
Yeah, so as you pointed out, Carl, last night we did see a mysterious segment where we saw a flashing of a 0 with a cross through it, kind of like the Ghostbusters symbol. That's what I thought it was like a modified Ghostbusters symbol. And I'm like, what was that? I got all confused. And so after the show, I, of course, went on Google and had a look around to try and get some information on this. And because I did not know that it was this wrestler's actual possible logo, but but the speculation is that it is Penta El Zero coming to the WWE. I'm going to take that with a grain of salt still, but it more than likely is him because we know that his deal was up with the AEW a while ago, and we knew that he was going to sign with the WWE. We also knew that he was going to be skipping NXT and going straight to the main roster.
Right.
I'm curious about where he debuts or when he debuts, how he debuts. What do they do with him? This is what I'm thinking about nowadays. Like, where do we go with him? Do we put him on Raw and pair him with the LWO, which I don't want to see that? Does he go into the Royal Rumble and, maybe have the Iron Man spot where he's going to be the one who lasts the longest time? That's where I'm at, and that's where I want to see where you guys are at. Where do you, if it is Penta, what do you guys see him doing on the main roster? Which roster does he go to? Which pay-per-view? Where does he debut?
If I'm going to debut him, I debut him on Smackdown, if it is Penta. I missed this vignette last night. I didn't see it until this morning when I got to work and I was scrolling social media.
Okay.
I would put him on SmackDown. I don't want him involved with Legado. I don't want him involved with the LWO. Do we maybe see him form a new alliance with Andrade, or do we see them keep them separate and let them be their own entity? I'd rather see him be his own entity and challenging into that U.S. title picture. And I think you debut him, if you're smart, Saturday night's main event, January 25th.
Monday Night Raw. I think what they're going to be looking for is a large pop for the debut of Monday Night Raw on Netflix. How big of a pop would that be? Especially for it being on a new platform on Monday Night Raw, to have Penta, whatever you want to go by, show up on WWE programming. We're going to harken back to the days where we would be channel surfing, channel flipping back and forth, and we'd be like, dude, this person just showed up over here. And we would all change the channel and go over there. I think that they may be kind of looking at doing the same thing with that. Or we could be looking at something totally different. We do know that the WWE is the home of Alexa Bliss. Now we have a circle logo. What has used that circle logo in the past? We're looking at Bray Wyatt and the Wyatt Six. So could this be, and again, speculatory and high hopes on my part, I guess we could say, that this is for Alexa making her return and joining the Wyatt Six? Because I've searched through and looked at all different photos of Penta, Pentagon, whatever, and I am not seeing anything that has the circle with the line through it having to do with Pentagon or Penta, however, what I'm calling him Pentagon, is that's who he is to me. He's Pentagon,
right?
Pentagon Junior, right?
Yep.
I'm not seeing any type of logo, whether on his mask, his tights, or anything having to do with a circle with a line going through it, but instead, like a red circle for me right now signifies the Wyatt Six and Bray Wyatt.
Right.
That's just me. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think it is Pentagon Jr., or do you think, let's go with Mr. Chris Best, we'll get his?
Yeah, so the debut, the connection that a lot of people are making is because he's known for his signature Cero Miedo, which means zero fear, and that's probably where, because it does look like, again, the no smoking symbol. So the no smoking symbol is, zero. You can't do this. That's probably where the speculation is coming in from. But you had mentioned Alexa Bliss, and if it is Alexa Bliss, I think if you were to debut her or have her return, I think the better fit for her would be the Royal Rumble for her to have that return, because we still need some of those shocking returns and debuts to happen at the Royal Rumble, as we usually get. The January 6th Raw would actually still not be a bad choice for her either, as well.
Right. You could have Carmella return at the Rumble.
Yep.
Yeah, you could have that too.
Carl, you took I had the exact same thought. You did potentially Alexa Bliss, but we did see a little while back during the Wyatt 6 hiatus that we started getting that QR code and Bo Howdy or Uncle Howdy saying, when you talk, we listen. We stop. And then those stopped for a month. So what those were for, who knows?
A circle. That's a stop. Right?
Yep. So, again, you could have any of these people debut or return on January 6th. You've got Saturday night's main event, January 25th. You've got the Royal Rumble, February 1st. You've got 3 key target dates.
Right.
So who knows? You could get all 3 at the Rumble. You could get 1 a show. You never know what's going to happen with the WWE. This may be a complete curveball that they're throwing to bring somebody up from NXT.
That's a possibility too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's interesting that the WWE is again doing this type of cryptic tease for someone coming through or coming up. And I personally love it. This harkens back to the days where we would get vignettes and not know who this person is, but them kind of explaining who they are. And probably the biggest one in recollection for everyone is going to be when Razor Ramon made his way to the WWE. And, they did all those different vignettes with him.
Dude,
talking about being the bad guy, and all of this. Those were absolutely fantastic. And the WWE is just taking that to a smaller level, but a more cryptic and simplistic type of level. Bulkster, damn you. It could be John Cena.
Right?
Because that's day 0 of his retirement tour. They could mark that as day 0 of his.
And let's not forget, what does John Cena's symbol look like? Yep. Or the stop sign over the C in Cena.
Yep. Oh wow,
Carl, I'm glad that you brought up past cryptic. I'm glad you brought up past cryptic promos, and you're like you went into Razor Ramon, which kind of went off a little topic, but when you said that, I was reminded of Taz's promos coming in. They were cryptic as hell too.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
We had no idea it was Taz until the Royal Rumble 2000 when he showed up. And OMD, you and I were watching that show together. I remember that very vividly, and just how excited we were about Taz showing up.
Yep.
They're doing so good. The WWE just, is doing really, really good with things when it comes to these types of promos, and really opening things up for us to discuss and speculate, and really getting our brains thinking a little bit more than just, oh yeah, right, like Pentagon Junior has that the circle with almost like the ninja star, the 4-pointed star, really is what a lot of his logo has been, right? He's got it's a star with a circle inside the star, whether it's a 5-point or a 4-point, usually a 4-point. If they had flashed something like that, then it would just be like, damn, yeah, it's going to be Pentagon Junior coming. We just know. But giving us just this little bit of something different allows for these amazing conversations to happen. And we want that you as well, the listener who is listening to us on whatever podcast platform that you are listening to us on, leave your comments or get a hold of us on our socials to discuss this a little bit further as to who you believe and speculate could be this superstar that is coming through this new cryptic promo. Or if you are watching this back on YouTube or on Twitch, leave your comments as well. And we are on Facebook, so you can rewatch this on Facebook as well. Leave those comments because we want to hear from you as well.
Thank you, Bobby. We always appreciate you coming in and joining our shows, engaging with us, and just being here, being the fan that you are of everything here at Turnbuckle Studios and the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program.
Before we end out for the night, we want to do what we usually do, and we make sure that you know where you can find us and what we can offer on the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program and our week of streams.
Turnbuckle Studios and the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program bring you the week of streams. All times are in Eastern Time. Monday nights you get the Locker Room Breakdown at 7 p.m., followed by the Raw Patrol at 8 p.m. Tuesday brings you the flagship show, Turnbuckle Talk, at 8:05 p.m. Wednesday we play games with the PlayStation Showcase at 8 p.m. Thursday we get a variety stream with the Boar's Nest at 8 p.m. Friday we game again with Unleashed, the Jessica Wilde story at 7 p.m. Following the game, join us for the Smackdown security detail at 8 p.m. The weekend brings you Saturday Night Gaming at 8 p.m. On Sunday be sure to catch the Chris Parrish podcast at 12:15 p.m. Be part of the shows and join the chat every day.
And we thank each and every one of you who have gone and subscribed to us on our socials. 2025, I feel, is going to be a huge year for us here with Turnbuckle Studios and the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program. Two of the guys that are on this screen with me right now are part of that affiliation program with the shows that they do, like the Smackdown Security Detail, the Saturday Night Gaming, the Boar's Nest that OMD is a part of, but that is run by Bubba Duke, part of the affiliation program as well. Chris Best doing the Saturday Night Gaming, as well as the Unleashed, the Jessica Wilde story. And then our good friend, Mr. Chris Parrish, as well on Sundays with the Chris Parrish podcast. You too can be part of this growing network if you so choose. Contact us and let's see what we can do to help you grow as well and be part of the Turnbuckle Studios network and become a member of the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program. Each and every one of us have a link tree. We all decided to do this, and just allows for each and every one of you to make an easy way to catch all of our socials. OMD, we'll start with you.
You can catch me on my link tree, linktr.ee/OMD show. Visually, you can catch me right back here tomorrow night with Mr. Best on the PlayStation Showcase.
Mr. Best. It seems Mr. Best is having issues again.
Yes, we have
His
lost.
is linktr.ee/Chris_best83. Once again, that is linktr.ee/Chris_best83. That is where you can go to find Mr. Chris Best on his socials. We do have a shop here for the network as well. You can check that out. It's simply my name, carlcarufel.redbubble.com. That's KARLKARUFEL.redbubble.com. And for all of my socials, it is Carl Carufel. Check out the link tree, linktr.ee/Carl Carufel. For each one of us here within the Turnbuckle Studios Network and the Turnbuckle Affiliation Program, we once again want to say thank you for joining us here. Remember, everyone, the world's a scary place. Take care of each other.